I'm very sorry we're a little bit late this morning. There seem to be some troubles with the satellite, and Eugene and Peter and the people with the real brains are off-site at the moment doing various important things. So sorry about that, but hopefully things will hold together for the rest of the morning. In case you have stumbled across this website by mistake while doing a Google search for some kind of a thing you don't actually need to buy on the internet, stay with us. Don't go anywhere. We're very glad to have you along. You're on a live safari, like I say. And it's also interactive. So please talk to us, #SafariLive if you're tweeting away, or questions at WildEarthTV if you're on the email. Now, I'm just going to give you a little bit of background to where we are. We're sitting in the Kruger National Park, which is a huge 2.2 million hectare expanse of wildlife land. Off to the far east, we've got the basalt plains leading to the Rhyolite Mountains of the Lubombo. And then as we come this way, it's various sort of gently undulating granite and gabbro plains and woodlands like this. Around us, we're in what we call a combretum woodland, or broad-leafed woodland, and that's where we're in now. And then as you go off further to the west, this combretum woodland turns eventually into some more open areas and forests up into the mountains of the Drakensberg in the west. So that's basically where you find us this morning, and we're going to take you on a virtual experience through this area. My name is James Hendry. I'm standing on this small Land Rover because I'm short of stature and ashamed of it. On camera today we have Andrew. Now I must just tell you that Andrew walked into a pole this morning, and so he has a rather amusing wound on the front of his head. We're not sure if his brain will function for the entire 3 hours of the game drive, but we live in hope. Also, interestingly, in the control room today on debut, we have the, what shall we call her, the red-haired Kirsty McLennan Smith, and her sultry tones talking to us over the Director One, and she is being ably assisted, of course, by Nikki and Tara. And then on the other vehicle, the irascible, inimitable, and highly enthusiastic Brent Leo Smith, and he's being cameraed by Viam the Wildebeest. So that is who is taking you on safari today. I am now going to elegantly climb back into my seat without falling and injuring my head like Andrew has done this morning, and we're going to head off. My plan today, apart from making sure that Andrew stays alive and compos mentis, is to go off towards the east to see if the Birmingham lions perhaps haven't come onto Djuma. So I'm not sure. I've had this plan about four mornings in a row now, and have basically found tracks of Steenbok only coming south, but that's the idea today. The Talamati Pride is another pride of lions, was north of us yesterday. The Tuma Timber Males and the Styx Pride were to the south, the Nkuhumas were to the west. Djuma didn't have any lions on it yesterday as far as we're aware, but there was one male that chased some buffalo all the way from the southern end out of the north. So who knows? We'll see what's going on. The lions are in flux, and so it's a very exciting time. Welcome to it, and here we go. Ready, Andrew?
Ready to go.
Marvelous. Good. I'm just going to have to keep speaking to Andrew throughout the drive every so often to make sure that he is not away with the fairies. So Andrew, it was a wooden pole, was it?
That's correct.
Hiding in the darkness.
A lingering wooden pole.
And the weather at the moment apparently is 13 degrees Celsius. I'm not sure where these weather reports are coming from. I think it's much warmer than that at the moment. That's 55 degrees Fahrenheit if you are living in an age of ox wagons. And thank you very much to those of you who pointed out a serval that was found at the Djuma waterhole during the night. And a serval, if you don't know, is a small spotted cat. It looks, I suppose, very superficially like a tiny leopard, but it's actually more like a house cat with long legs and a shortish tail and beautiful golden pelage and black spots. It's a really stunning little cat, and while we don't see them very often, we think they're probably more common around here than they might be, because as you can see on the Djuma camp, they're active mainly in the night time. So I think that's probably why we don't see them as often as we might. Beautiful cat, and thank you for the update. And if you are perhaps new, we do have cameras at water holes throughout the various interesting wildlife areas of the world, actually. So just log on to WildEarth.com and you can find some of the static cameras that are around the world, very exciting places. Perhaps also a good time to just say thank you very much to our Zoomies, and our Zoomies are the tireless people who watch these cameras and zoom in and move the cameras around so that the experience of being at the waterhole can be maximized. So thank you very much to them. You make probably a larger contribution than you realize, A, to us, and B, to the larger conservation effort by bringing the wonders of the African wild to so many people. So thank you for what you do. Right, we are now on a ridge crest area heading towards the northern boundary, and you can see, well, maybe you can't, but the vegetation has changed very slightly from where you joined us. It was a bit thicker down there. Now as we come onto the ridge crest, the trees open out a little bit and it's more marulas rather than only combretum or bush willow trees. Not a particularly good example as I look around myself there. I want to stop and have a listen when we get up onto the top, onto the north, but there is a game drive behind us, so I'm just going to keep going until we get there. I'm not sure that I can repeat the comment that's come through. I'm just going to get it repeated so I can. Comment from MJ Bradley, and that I have been now named Commander Cutie Pants. Well, Andrew, what do you say to that?
That's hilarious.
I'm not sure if I'm honoured or... yes, I'm not sure what to say about that. Thank you, MJ. Must be the vastness of my legs, Andrew. We're just going to have a stop and a listen here because we haven't had a listen this morning yet. Thank you, Charlie, for your concern about Andrew's well-being. At the moment, while he does have a rather unsightly bump on the top of his head, he seems to be okay. So we're just going to have a listen for the next, say, 10 seconds, and I'll tell you what we can hear. So that's a little bit of a listen to what's going on around the place. Not a very noisy morning, probably because it's a bit cloudy, and It is a bit noisier than it has been on a cloudy morning earlier in the month, and that's because the spring is coming on. But the most interesting thing you can hear back there, and I don't know if you would have registered it, was a drongo trying to imitate a crested franklin. Did you hear that, Andrew?
I didn't know it was a drongo. I just thought it was a franklin.
It sounds like a franklin, but it's a drongo making a crested franklin call. And I've not clicked before, but I've heard them do it before, and I haven't registered what they were doing, but that's exactly what it is, so that's quite cool. Wonderful. Right, as we're going along, we had a question about a caracal, and whether we get caracals here or not, and that's from Gail. Gail, we do get caracals here, not very often. I haven't seen one since I've been at Djuma, but absolutely they're supposed to occur in the area. I've seen them at Ngala, I've seen them at Londolozi just down the way there, so they must be around here. And they're not common, they're more common in places like the Karoo, which is the sort of central semi-desert area of South Africa, and there they're fairly abundant. And yeah, they're not very common here, but they are around. Again, in the presence of other predators where they feel pressure, they will be fairly nocturnal. Many animals, when they are faced with other pressure, will try and avoid other predators, and they can do that by being active at different times or using different sort of food and spatial niches. But a caracal will try and avoid the daytime in order to stay hidden. Right, we are now on the northern boundary, where we're hopefully going to find vast numbers of lion tracks coming south. I haven't seen a lion since I got back from leave. Andrew, please find a lion. Ah, there is the game drive coming towards us. See what they have to say. Ae, minsan ko alam. Me akui. Okay. Oh. Ako nang chumo ko lang.
What did he do to his car?
He walked into a pole.
Is that your story?
It is my story, and I'm going to stick with it. We're not sure the effects yet, so we're being quite careful about him.
That's actually what's wrong with him.
Can't tell.
No, there's a lot more wrong with him, but that's the main thing. Yes. Thank you. Nina. Right. So, sorry about that. Some very entertaining people there who found it very amusing that Andrew had a great welt on his forehead. I will try and take a picture of it later while he's not looking and post it on the tweet. Okay, so question from Blair Sinclair. The Birminghams were found on Nkoro last night. Shouldn't I be going that way if I want to see them? Blair, yes, absolutely. We should be going in theory due south, but I need to check the northern boundary first. And because Djuma is quite small and lions move so far during the night, it's a good idea just to do that sort of thing. And Brent is also in the south checking the southern boundary. But well pointed out. Thank you, Blair. Andrew, there is something crossing the road way up ahead. I think it's a kudu. while we're driving along, hopefully to find some tracks of something large and hairy and large teeth. Lynn, you ask a very interesting question to which nobody really knows the direct answer. You've asked about, we were talking about the drongo and its imitation of the francolins, and you want to know why they do that. And the answer is that we don't really know. There are a few theories. The first theory is that what it makes, it might have something to do with food competition, where they make a territory sound full, and so it becomes easier for them to, it becomes easier for a bird. If it cons other birds into believing that the territory is full, then there's more to eat. For the drongo, it doesn't really hold true, because they don't have the same diet as francolins do, and so I can't believe they'd be trying to con francolins into believing that they were there. So I'm not really sure from that point of view whether that's the case. There is definitely a lot of research that shows robins that can imitate other birds. The males that have the greatest number of imitations are able to breed more readily than those that can't. So it may be something of a peacock's tail, if you know what I mean, where it doesn't have an overt advantage to anything other than attracting mates. So that might be it, and that at the moment is what I think. I'm really not sure, especially with the drongos. They're not particularly good mimics. They're not like a lark. Some of the larks and some of the robins will con you into, very difficult to tell that it's actually one of them doing it. A drongo you can tell from the tone, and I'm sure the birds with their exceptional hearing are able to tell the difference. So Lynn, I can't give you a definitive answer as to why they do that imitation. There are some kudus, Andrew. Some kudu cows. Let us stop and observe them. Well, that is what we do on game drive, is it not? 4 of them. 4 kudu cows. Just enjoying the morning. And I wonder, they're doing something, well, the one that is with her head down is doing something unusual. What's that, Andrew? And there are 5 of them. She looks like she's grazing. Now, kudus are browsers, and you'll find that they're not eating grass, that they're finding what we call forbs, which is sort of not grass, but herbaceous plants of indeterminate species, sort of universally known as forbs. You see what a clever colour they are for this time of year. And you know, spending the amount of time we do out here now, I've started to notice all sorts of different things. And despite all of my time out here, I've never thought to myself how much better camouflaged a lot of these animals are for the winter than they are for the summer. And these kudu, you look at them against that vegetation, they're a beautiful color for this vegetation. And I think that they're this color because in summer, obviously, it's a lot easier for them to hide behind the greenery. So they don't need to be necessarily that camouflaged for the summertime. Nice thick warm fur that kudu's got. She'll want to be shedding that in the coming months. Vast ears for listening, just like the big bad wolf, Andrew. A few more birds calling now, white-browed scrub robins, a couple of hornbills. The odd blue waxbill. I'm just going to move out of the way here for this game drive that's coming past. Otherwise we'll have more than one of us with a concussion. Aye. Ninja. Nico. Milanzain.
Oh, di juga.
Okay. Next. Iri obri kuna drag markli. Ingena buffalo soup.
Oh, jangan mana.
Okay.
Kamu?
Ina aing genile.
Alright.
Right. That is Ephraim, and Ephraim is from Cheetah Plains, and he and I were trying to track that lion yesterday, and he was exceptional on foot, very good at spotting the tracks. And they came through, probably passed out just to the east of where we are now. One male lion, don't know who he was. He was chasing buffalo, seemingly on his own. Maybe, yeah, I'm not sure if he joined up with the Talamaki Pride just north of us. Alright, we're going through a bit of a dodgy signal area here, and so I think it's time to hand you over to the enthusiastic Brent Leo Smith. So we'll head over to him, and I will keep you, well, I will hopefully have some good news for you next time I see you. Enjoy.
You know what? Don't mess with the noise. Welcome on this sunrise safari, everyone. Not much sun showing itself. My name is Brent Leo Smith, and I'm going to be your guide. And we have Vim on camera with us today. And at the moment, we've decided to cross across to Arathusa, and we're busy looking to see if we can find any tracks of the Nkahuma Pride. Haven't been found yet this morning. And Scott's out on tracking team looking for young Sindile. And also, while we're on Arathusa, I'm definitely going to go past that vulture's nest again and check. So we are on a live African safari, and we are also interactive. So you are able to ask us questions about what we're seeing on the drive, and you can do that by using the hashtag SafariLive on Twitter or emailing us on questions@wildearth.tv. So quite a dull, cold morning. Definitely grey, but certainly not dreary. And it does look like the sun is trying to fight through this cloud bank, and we've had a little cold front that's come in from the east coast, from the Mozambique Channel, and it's been sitting over us for the last couple of days, and I'm hoping the sunshine will break through at some point during today and we can have some wonderful late winter sunshine. Just going to be on the game drive radio for a second, seeing if anyone's found anything. Morning station, Brent from Wild Earth. Any updates on Safari and Dow, please? We're busy heading sort of southwest at the moment. I think Nkahumas were last seen at the waterhole, so I'm hoping that they might have moved towards the west. So I'm doing along a straight road that goes through almost the center of Arathusa to see if we find any tracks crossing. There were some lion tracks there, but they were quite old, and just had to figure out. I'm pretty sure that's the tracks of Junior and that missing lioness before they reunited. This was the area where they were first seen in before crossing across to Djuma, and a lot of dust on the tracks, so definitely not from today, so definitely not worth following up on. And as we come towards the end of winter and spring is on the way, Wendy via email is asking, do we have grasshoppers and do we get big swarms of them? If we do, Wendy, we do get grasshoppers. We don't really get those locust swarms in this area. You get those more in the big grasslands. It is not to say it is impossible, but we will have a lot of grasshoppers, but generally the smaller type, not the ones that we're going to find in huge swarms. So we're coming to a crossroads, and this is the road I'm hoping that the lions used to leave the Arathusa waterhole. But alas, no tracks, so we're going to continue a bit further west and then cut south again and check the next road that runs from the Arathusa waterhole. As we can see around us at the moment, there's very few green, apart from a couple of evergreens like those quarries that we're bypassing now. And Rosanna would like to know, isn't it harder to find animals during the green season or wet season than it is in the dry season? Most definitely. The grass is much higher, you can't see into it. Also with rain, the ground becomes compacted, so it becomes much harder to see tracks. So it is, from now through to the first rains, is the best time to see animals, to track animals. Sorry guys, the radio's a bit fuzzy, I just need to listen to this carefully. Sorry guys, I'll be with you in a sec, I'm just listening carefully to the radio here. Doug, do you copy? Thank goodness I can hear someone else. Sorry Doug, could I get an update for Safari and Bell, please? Okay, copy. Thanks very much, Doug. Cheers, thanks very much. Oh, what's VM found there? I can't... Oh, there we go, some go-away birds sitting at the top of the tree, hoping for some sun to warm their feathers. But a quick update on what's going on. The Nkahuma Pride have been found, but unfortunately not in our Travis area. They have killed a buffalo, so I'm sure they're very, very happy and busy eating their fill to the west of us on Simbambili. So we're going to continue on and see what else we can find here on Arathusa. At least we know when we find those lion tracks, we're not going to follow them because they have been found pretty much in that general direction. So at least my guesswork was sort of spot on, that they were going to head in sort of a westerly direction from the Arathusa waterhole, but unfortunately they have crossed out of our traverse area. So I think I'm going to start slowly making my way towards that vulture's nest and see, before it gets too hot and the adult moves off, whether we can see the adult and the youngster again. So yesterday Steph managed to find the new hyena den, or the hyena den that's currently being used. It's probably new for us, but not new for the hyenas. And we went and had a look there, and we saw that little cub and his mom while we were there, and Emily's just asking for an update on that. Well, I'm quite sure it's in the same place, Emily. We are quite far away from it at the moment, and I'm sure we will definitely go check on that den at a later stage, either later on the sunrise safari or possibly even on the sunset safari. But I'm quite sure they are happy in their new home, and someone will definitely go have a look at it. Always get a little bit of excitement when I come into this part of the world. Hoping to possibly find tracks, or even better, find the Anderson male, who I haven't seen yet. And this is sort of his territory where he has been seen quite a bit. So maybe luck is on our side this morning. There we go, right in the distance there. A nice big bird, and a bird we are on our way to look for. But that one is not sitting on a nest, and it looks to be a white-backed vulture. So they are around, and in the cool morning, they're not going to be flying yet, and they'll be waiting for this cloud to burn off and the heat to come through. And Charlie mentioned that he would also like the sun to come out. Well, me too, and the vultures will definitely like it. They need to ride those thermals, and there are very few thermals on these cold days, so the vultures have probably had a bit of slim pickings over this overcast period. But as soon as the sun's up, they're definitely going to be hitting those thermals and looking for some carrion to find. Oh, and Vim has spotted one on a nest. Well spotted, Vim. Here we go. Quite far from the road, and that's why we're going to head towards that other vulture's nest that is very close to the road and affords us a better view. There we go, doing a bit of preening. I'm quite confident we're going to come across the tracks of the Nkahumas quite shortly as this beautiful little bit of morning light breaks through. making our way along this area. Good shots for leopards along these drainage lines, and hopefully we'll find some tracks. I said, or better yet, we'll find a leopard. So as we're about to go into this drainage line, we might have a little bit of signal breakup, so we're going to cross back to Commander Bond to see what he's been up to.
Hello everybody, welcome back to Djuma, where you find us on the far eastern boundary with a southern giraffe. That's what this particular giraffe species is called, and subspecies, and that one is a cow. Now, what I want you to look at on that cow, and if you might go up the neck there we go, is that patch of sort of, what do we call it? Furless skin, if you like, and that's from an ectoparasite that afflicts all giraffe, and it's quite a nice way of aging them. Doesn't do them particular harm, but she's obviously sort of beyond the flush of youth, as it were, but she's in pretty good nick. And what's also interesting about her is that she's very dark, and the textbooks and various people will tell you that they get darker as they get older, and that the males especially get darker as they get older. And I think you'll find that, much like with people, their hair, they're actually one of the most variable species we get out here. So if you look at something like an impala, they're almost identical, all of them, and if you were to look at a herd, it would be very difficult to tell them apart. But giraffe are very different. They've all got slightly different coloration. You've got a bit of a limp there, Andrew.
Yeah, it looks like it.
Let me reverse back and try and stay with her. She's limping, looks like her left front foot. Deeply confused by what we're doing. She's really very beautiful. And 2 weeks ago, well, I mean, we've been seeing that male giraffe around the Treehouse Dam area. In fact, I think it was the male giraffe. We had a highlights package yesterday on the Fireside Chat. There was a male giraffe who was looking intently at shadow when Scott eventually found her, and he did use the giraffe to find her, and very similarly coloured and also limping, but that was a bull, and he's quite a long way from here. I think it was his right shoulder that seemed to be bugging him, and I'd say it's her left front shoulder that's bugging her. But she's a good age, that giraffe. Very beautiful. Unusually dark for a cow. I suppose what might be described as a raven-haired beauty of the giraffe world. And she's eating some knobthorn. And there are a few leaves on that knobthorn that she's eating. I think they're all pretty much old leaves. I don't think there are any new ones yet, although maybe there are one or two. But what never ceases to amaze me is if you watch her tongue. Her tongue is now wrapping itself around thorns that would tear the flesh off your hand were you to try and do the same thing. I hate to imagine what would happen if you try and put your tongue around a thorn like that, but the giraffes just don't even notice it. And I think that's because they produce a huge amount of very lubricating saliva, and they probably also replenish the epidermis, or the dermal layer, on the top of this tongue. I'm sure it gets sloughed off and replaced at an amazing rate, because it must be torn up by the thorns that they eat. Look at that. I mean, those thorns are vicious. And in the background you can hear that lovely lilting chorus of the magpie shrike. Oh, she's definitely favouring her left forefoot. She's heading into Torchwood now, which is not very pleasant of her at all. Beautiful animals that they are. It's almost like she's floating. Right. Okay, so that was our first large mammal sighting of the day. We're now on the eastern boundary. There was a lion found in Torchwood, which is just, of course, east of us where we can't go. And the animals, for those of you who don't know, are free to traverse the boundaries that we can't. These are human-imposed boundaries, no fences, or a totally open system. But unfortunately, we are not allowed to go wherever we like. That is because of a human property law, and also because our signal would eventually disappear were you to find us somewhere near the Mozambican border. So that lion that they found there, I think, is the same male. He's a single male, no one knows who he is. And he was chasing buffalo through here yesterday, and he was basically who I was hoping to find maybe today. But maybe he'll come across here. Who knows, we might be lucky. So we're going to continue our way down the eastern boundary here to the south and see if anything's come in from the other side. Still all right there, Andrew?
All good.
Andrew is still speaking in coherent sentences, well, as coherent as they ever are. So I don't think he's showing any major ill effects of the bump to the head that he had this morning. What else did you bump? You also hit your...
And my knee.
And your knee. It's a very vicious pole. While we're driving along, I mentioned that giraffe was pretty old, and Abby, you'd like to know how it is that I knew that. Abby, there are a few ways of aging a giraffe. Colour's not a particularly good one. The ectoparasite, the extent of that ectoparasite infestation on the skin is a very good way of telling age. Then, certainly for the bulls and for the cows, the size of what they call the median horn. But basically what it is a calcification of the skull that takes place on giraffe, and you can see that they start to get bumps around their heads. And the old ones, that's far more extensive than it is on the younger ones. And then you just general condition, you know, the skin toe, I don't want to say tone, I suppose the shininess of the fur and the condition of the fur is a good way of telling the age. So a giraffe can live to probably about 20 to 25 years, and I would have put that one sitting somewhere around 16 or 17. I am guessing that, but I think that's probably what she was. Very pleasant morning, even though the sun isn't quite out yet. I think it's going to come out a bit later. And then a lovely comment from Billy, Joe and Pam, who say we have definitely seen that giraffe before. Thank you for that. Right, we've got a whole lot of other herbivores here to our left. Let's test Andrew's brain. Andrew, what are they?
Waterbok.
Waterbok, yes. Waterbuck.
Actually smelt them.
Hmm?
Actually smelt them before I saw
Did
them.
you? So Andrew's just pointing out that he smelt them before he saw them, and that's not unusual. That's not a function of the bump to the head that he's taken. It is a function of a musk gland that is in the skin, and you can often smell them before you see them. Very peacefully grazing here. And you may notice that the vegetation is slightly more open around where we are now, and that's because this was certainly a fire break, which means an area where the vegetation's been kept purposely short in order to, so should there be a fire, especially around this time of year, we're into the fire season now, it's a good place from which to fight a fire. It's quite a big herd. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 13 or so of them. There's often lots of waterbuck bulls in this area, but not often so many cows. Very furry. Now in theory they're called waterbuck because they like to run into water when they're chased by predators. That's actually a response that a lot of animals will have. Impala do it quite frequently. In fact, at Arathusa Waterhole very recently, they've had 3 or 4 incidents where an antelope has run away from wild dogs into the water and been thought it had found safety, only to be murdered by one of the hippopotamus there, which is a fairly unpleasant way to go, I think. So it's not an unusual thing for an animal to run into water in order to escape a predator. I've never seen a waterbuck do it, and I'm not sure that they do it particularly more than any other antelope does, especially as these ones are miles from any water. And we're just looking at these furry kudus, at least, and what are they, waterbuck? I don't think I bumped my head, maybe I did. So these furry waterbucks, and we were looking at the kudu, and I was saying how that they looked like they had pretty thick fur. And Lois in Buffalo, New York, an interesting sort of comment about the furriness of their hair and when it will go and how long it will be around. I think waterbuck are generally always quite furry. I'm not sure why. Those kudu that we saw will probably lose quite a lot of that hair as we go into the summer months, and I'm sure the kudu, at least the waterbuck fur, will also become slightly thinner as we go towards the summer. But they generally always look slightly furrier than the rest, especially on the neck there. And that fur on the neck, I'm just trying to think why it might be there. It might be some kind of a predator defense function. So if a leopard or something, well, I mean, they're quite big for leopard. If a lion got hold of them, it might be quite an effective way of, a bit like a honey badger, which with its loose skin is an effective way of it helping it to shake off predators. Maybe that's got something to do with it. I think they've also got quite oily skin, and I suspect that also has some kind of anti-predatory function. It's so peaceful here. There comes the sun now. This is a very delicious feeling, the first rays of the sun as they hit your face. An interesting question about comparisons between the different antelope species that we get here. Now, Nyala also have quite heavy fur on the males, and not so much the females. And the question is, do waterbuck also use this heavy fur in a sort of dominance display, like the Nyala might? And the answer is no, because both sexes have it. They've both got quite a lot of hair on the neck, and the females don't generally show any kind of dominance hierarchy I'm sure there is probably a small one, but it's not particularly definitive and not particularly rigidly enforced, and they certainly don't fight with each other. So I don't think dominance has anything to do with it. But they really are very furry. Oh, it's just so nice, that first little ray of sun. Hey, Andrew? Wonderful feeling of the African sun on one's back in the morning. Waterbuck to the left, crested barbets calling to the right, magpie shrikes just behind. Franklin's in the distance, and the peaceful call of the Cape turtle dove or ringneck dove. So the waterbuck is called a waterbuck, like I say, probably because they have been seen running into water to evade predators. And Nora, you want to know how long they can survive without water. That's on the email. Nora, not very long is the answer. All of the species that thrive in this area are quite water dependent, and that's okay for them because there is quite a lot of water around, although it doesn't look like it. All the landowners here pump water on their various little on the patchwork property that is the Sabi Sands. And so you actually are never more than, I'd say, you're never more than 1.5 kilometers from water. So they will always be able to go and have water to drink, should they need it. And I suspect they probably drink once a day. So they probably couldn't go more than 3 days, 3 or 4 days, without drinking. Good question, Nora. And it does open up a whole discussion about what animals thrive in this area and why they thrive in this area and why some less water-dependent species don't do so well here. Beautiful. That's wonderful. Now, they're not often this relaxed, these waterbuck. And look at the lovely kind of golden honey color on the left-hand side of as the sun catches that beautiful fur. Sort of emerging now from Torchwood. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. A nice thought from Siberia Zumi, who says, could the that hair on the neck be some kind of water repellent? Yes, it could, Siberia. I mean, it's certainly very oily, and it is fairly waterproof. I'm just trying to think of an incident where I've seen them A, around water. Yes, I have seen them around water, but B, running into water and spending a lot of time in water. Maybe they said they used to, and they don't need to anymore here, and because of the amount of water there is and the size of the water bodies that there are. Certainly their cousins, the lechwe, up in same genus up in Botswana, spend a lot of time in the water, and there it would make a lot more sense to have this oily, longish fur that sort of is quite water repellent. And then Joan, you said maybe it's some kind of protection. And I think that's more like, well, I don't know. I think it could be some kind of protection, especially on the neck there. So it might be a protection against predation, but not fighting, because the females don't fight. These cows don't fight. There's a huge herd. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 17. And I knew this question was eventually going to pop up. So we smelt them before we saw them. Well, Andrew did, because his bump to the head has made his olfactory senses twice as strong as they were before. And Laura, on Twitter, you said you've never seen a waterbuck kill, and are they more difficult to catch? Are they than other animals? No, I don't think they are. They just are at that size where their major predators are only going to be lions and hyenas. Yes, a big male leopard will take an adult, and yes, it's possible that the youngsters will be taken by leopards and wild dogs. But the question arises, I don't think they're any more difficult to catch, but they do have this musk gland that for many years people thought was some kind of anti-predator defense, that perhaps lions would avoid trying to catch them because they tasted bad because of this sort of musk gland. Now, I'm not convinced that that's necessarily all untrue. So, I mean, that theory was kind of thrown out the water when, you know, I mean, lions will eat the most foul, rancid thing. But we don't know what effect that musky smell or taste has on lions. So it is possible. The other thing, though, Laura, I think, is that we don't necessarily see them being killed because they're not the most common antelope. So we don't often see kudu kills, for example. We sometimes see them, but we don't often see them. But we do most often see kills that will last a long time, like a buffalo kill, for example, for lions, or for leopards, an impala kill will last in a few days. A big crowd of lions will devour a waterbuck in not very long at all. But I do think that there is an element of truth to the fact that their musk gland possibly does provide some kind of predator deterrent. And you hear that lovely sound of them walking through the grass there. Andrew, do you want to reverse quickly? I'm just going to go backwards a bit so that we don't have to film the aerial. I don't think I've ever spent this long walking back before. Marvellous. Totally ruined your leveling. And you can see they're now faced their back ends to us, and you can very clearly see the white, I suppose what is very unflatteringly called the toilet seat marking on the back. And Janet, you want to know if that comes with age or if they're born with it? No, they're absolutely born with it. And like most of the sort of obvious things on the back end of animals, it would seem to be some kind of a following mechanism. So easier to see than, I mean, they are, to my mind, a waterbuck is perfectly coloured for this kind of terrain. Grey-brown. And they're slowly grazing towards Buffelshoek waterhole, and maybe that's where they're sort of on their way to. They're definitely moving in a determined fashion at the moment. There we go. Right, that was a marvellous waterbuck sighting, and I think we'll press on from here. Right, on we go. Those are all waterbuck cows, by the way, and Anna-Marie, you wanted to know whether they were, or all cows, they were. No bulls. And so we've been looking at a couple of different kinds of antelope today. Well, Andrew and I have seen a few impala, we've seen kudu, we've seen beautiful waterbuck sighting, my best waterbuck sighting ever, I think, which was very nice. And Maggie, him all the way from Australia, you want to know if we get blessbook here. And blessbook, I'm just trying to think how best to explain to those who don't know. Let me just quickly show you a picture of a blessbook. Blessbook we don't get here, Maggie. They are found more in the Highveld and then into the Cape, and we don't get blessbook here. A blessbook is a very beautiful antelope. I'm just going to try and find you a picture in this book without making it too awkward by taking an age to do it. Don't worry, Andrew, I'm getting there. Blessbook. I don't think there is a picture. Yes, here we go. No. No picture of a blessbook. Yes, there is. Number 4. That's a blessbook there. Very beautiful. And both sexes have horns. Very lovely. Sort of, I suppose, liver chestnut. If you're a horsey person, you'll know what that means. A kind of dark chestnut color, much darker, redder brown than, say, an impala is. Very beautiful. That's a blessbook. Central and South Africa, it says there. All right. Last question. Thanks, Maggie. Let us press on. We're now nearing the southern boundary. No tracks of any lions, alas. It was nice to have the sun. Probably won't be saying that in a month's time. I'm just going to very slowly drive underneath this tree here. Andrew, there was a parrot's nest. Just see if they don't stick their heads out. That hole there. Can you see that? Mm-hmm. There's a hole there, and in which 2 little brown-headed parrots had found solace. And I've seen them flying out of it a few times, but maybe they're out feeding today, or maybe they've abandoned it, I'm not sure. It's a really excellent little spot for a brown-headed parrot to have a nest. Beautiful. Right, on we go. Alright, while we're driving along here, we're going to link across to Brent, who has found some Brobdingnagian pachyderms. See you later.
So welcome back, everyone. So just after you left us, we found the tracks of a female leopard, and while we were following those tracks, we heard these elephants crashing around in the bush quite close to us. So we decided to come have a quick look at the ellies, as they are quite close to our western boundary. I'm just going to try and move again as they're moving. They are feeding and moving quite quickly at the moment, so we will try to stay with them as long as possible. But it is likely that they might be able to outmaneuver us in this thick bush. Fortunately, there seems to be a nice open patch through just above the thickets that they're feeding in at the moment. Oh, in a bit of a hole there. Oh, looks like there's a biggish bull up ahead. That could be the reason why they're moving so much. So we're now, the majority of the herd is off in front, off to my right here, and there is a largish bull, not massive, but probably around 25, 26 years old, and he seems to be harassing some of the females. And then we've got another 3 just off to the left that should walk out into the nice open area next to us. Going to move right across the face of us. There we go. You can just hear all that crashing as they break the branches all around us. Not done with that one yet. Well, it looks like hopefully she might feed off this bush willow right between us and her. We can see some of that incredible strength. There we go. Like it was a toothpick. And she's going to rotate that branch through her mouth, peeling off the bark, and just under the bark is the nutrient-rich cambium layer, which transports salts and minerals and water from the roots to the rest of the tree. And that will make up a lot, or most of, an elephant's diet during the dry season. And if you see elephant poo, as opposed to wet season and dry season, during the wet season it's generally a little bit darker, and that's from the grass and the starches and sugars in the grass. And during the dry season it has a slightly more reddish twinge, and that is from all the cambium layers that are being eaten. See how delicately she uses that tusk just as a leverage to just break the branch so it's easier to pull off. Isn't that incredible? She used her foot there to take off the branch, so she's got, well, just dropped one, and the next snack is for on the go. And you can see she's actually pulling a little creeper off there. That was incredible. That she obviously didn't want to eat. Oh, and who says elephants don't use tools? There we saw her use that branch to scratch between her mammary glands. A little itchy spot there. So we are sitting here watching this elephant cow devour that little red bush willow or Combretum apiculatum, and we are live, so you're seeing this at the same time as us, and you can send us questions about what we're seeing. You can do that by using the hashtag Safari Live on Twitter, or you can send us an email at questions@wildearth.tv. We moved on to the next tree, but still got her snack on the go with her before she starts breaking off pieces of the next tree. They seem to be moving quite quickly, and she's right at the tail of the breeding herd. And spreading out even more through this mixed Combretum woodland. So you'll find these breeding herds at this time of the year can spread into quite big distances between each other, probably up to half a kilometer or 500 meters, as they go in search of food. I'm going to roll forward a little bit. There we go. Really wants that branch, and it's proving a little bit tricky. So as we watch that grey bottom disappear over my head there, the rest of the herd moving into some quite thick bush, and we're not going to go crashing in and around after them. And Janet also noted that elephant using the stick to scratch her belly, and isn't it amazing that elephants also use tools? And they're able to do that because of the dexterity of their trunk. And if you had to be a buffalo, you would just have to sort of find a low-flung branch and scratch away. So, from one great grey pachyderm to another with Commander Bond.
It's just the three of them. Hello everybody, and welcome back to Jiga. We're with some elephants, but they are very unhappy. I don't know why. As we came up here, this cow here who's watching us at the back there, she's watching us very carefully. I think there's another one calling. Just that low rumble I heard to the right of us. As she came across the road, she turned and she kind of shook her head at us. And then another one came belting across from the side. And now they've stopped and they're listening. So I'm not going to move the car. I'm going to wait here and see what happens. You saw her moving and then suddenly she stopped and turned. And she's not only looking at us. Only 3 of them so far that we've seen. So can you hear them, Andrew?
Yeah, vaguely.
They're definitely calling. Very low infrasonic rumble. That to us sounds a bit like, but definitely I'm sure to their ears is very different from that. Definitely not very at peace. Might be that she's just watching us, but I don't really understand why she would have moved away from us and then stopped suddenly and turned. Especially as our engine is off. Let's just wait and see. They're called again. I'm not sure if you picked that up. In the distance you can hear a lovely southern boo-boo echoing down the drainage line. And Andrew unzipping his jacket, of course. We will move just now. I just want to wait here for a few minutes longer, just to see what is going on. And the youngster's coming up to the older one, maybe seeking some kind of comfort. And you can see there, well, you probably can't, but that cow at the front is definitely streaming from her temporal glands, which means that there's some kind of stress. Or some kind of heightened emotional state. Right, shall we try and move on? We're just going to move a little bit forward.